Let's talk to Red. Red is calling in from Ohio. Red, you're live on Truth Wanted. What's up?
Hello. I just wanted to kind of talk about what we've all been talking about tonight. I kind of wanted to go into the mentality state that this decision is causing for a lot of people. I know it's easy to say, oh, just go to a therapist. I'm in a very privileged position to be able to go to a therapist. Not everybody can go to a therapist because of maybe financial issues, or it's not safe in their current home. And also, where do we even go from here? How do we fix this? Because right now it kind of seems a bit impossible of what we can do with where the Supreme Court is at right now. Because those Supreme Court justices are there for life. So how do we fix this?
Yeah, and
it's really difficult to say how you fix this. How do you fix a lifetime appointment other than saying, okay, instead of that, let's do different types of appointments. Let's do term limits. But you would have to fundamentally change the court, and right now there's no incentive for anybody to do that. Like, we should have more justices. We should have justices that represent the different courts of appeals that we have across the country. We should have like 13 justices, and yet we only have 9.
Yeah. When there was, I remember during the Obama presidency, there was talks of expanding the court to 12 justices instead of 9. I don't think that went through. So like, it would have to be something like that. I mean, honestly, which is very doomer, right? It's not a happy outlook. Like when we talk about climate change, like every time we talk about it, it always gets worse and worse. But there's always like that little bit of hope that things can change. To be completely honest with you, Red, I don't know that there is a glimmer of hope for this situation. It doesn't seem, with the current system that we have in place, that any changes will be made unless drastic changes are made by the decision makers, that is the Supreme Court, in reversing this decision. And it has to be by the people who are currently in power, or a restructuring of how that system works, which who knows if that will ever happen. It's not even on the table right now. And that's really scary. And I hate to be that person that says that bad news, that says there's nothing we can do, but this isn't an issue where we can just vote on. This isn't something we could say, oh, well, maybe just next time. Yeah. Unless something drastic happens and something inexplicable and unplanned happens to the current Supreme Court justices, we are stuck with this ruling. And that is the really scary thing. The other thing we can do is to change state laws. Right? Because if we're in this free-for-all zone now of changing state laws, that's the next thing. I don't know if it can be done. And maybe that's the route. Yeah. Maybe figuring out how to do it. But with, at least in the state of Texas, not happening. Not happening with our current leadership.
Oh, definitely. And the scary thing is I'm actually moving down there in 3 months.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, and I'm with you, Red, too. I'm in a privileged position where I hope I don't have to be in a situation where my partner has to have a procedure done in a clinic like that. Like, I don't think I want to be able to use birth control to be able to prevent something like that as much as possible. But it could happen. Like, there's a reason why they call it unplanned pregnancies, right? Because they're unplanned. Like, it happens. And the options are really bleak. They're really bleak for at least people in the state of Texas right now. Again, if you're in East Texas, you have to drive all the way to New Mexico. And don't get me started on people who live in states that are next to us that have to drive possibly even farther right now. And that might change too. New Mexico might be changing its laws to stop it from abortion being as readily available there. So it sucks. It really does suck, Red.
It does. This and a lot of other things that are going on in my personal life has really been affecting me today. I'm going to be moving to the deep south of Texas. So if I come in the position where I need an abortion, I have to take a plane. There's no other option because driving is just going to be too much of a hassle, really. the one bright side I do think about it is that me and my boyfriend do plan on moving to a protected state, but I can't help but feel for the people who are not in the position I am to be able to get birth control because of maybe family members might threaten them or it's too much of a dangerous situation. Because I understand that. I used to be in that situation, and it's incredibly sad. And I really feel for people who may not be in a privileged situation that I am. Even though this is affecting all women, I still feel like I have a little bit more privilege than most other women. But yeah, it's not an easy topic where there's not really a plan really right now on what to do. I guess right now, like what you said, is go to the state levels, because I guess right now we just have to choose our battles, because obviously going to the Supreme Court isn't going to help us. And they're not here for the people.
Let's say that a Hail Mary is thrown and that some radical changes happen in the state of Texas. Okay, great. That's just Texas, right? Like, that is not protecting the rights of people everywhere across the country. And that is the biggest problem with this thing, right? It's like, yeah, you could even do stuff on a local level and really try to make stuff work, and it could still not be given to everybody. I mean, like, God, like, it was only just a couple years ago where people had to go to the right state just to get married to their loved ones. And we might have to be in a situation like that again, too. Like, the states' rights stuff, I'm sorry, guys, it's fucking bullshit. It's fucking bullshit because we do not protect the individual liberties of every United States citizen or non-citizens living in this country when we should be. Right? All this isn't states' rights. This is just states being able to take away people's rights. That's all this is. It's not giving rights to anybody. It's just the ability to take it away. We had rights for everybody. It's now the states that are taking it away. It's really frustrating, Red. And I hope that you're able to find some solace in talking about this, because you did mention mental health, right? Like, I'm furious today. If in case you can't tell, I'm fucking pissed, and I'm going to be pissed for a little while. I don't know when this is going to go away. It's not good.
I'm purposely not talking to my parents, because I know if they mentioned anything about abortion, because they're all very pro-life. If I'm purposely not talking to any of them right now, because if they brought up anything about abortion, I don't think I could physically shut up, because they don't know I'm pro-choice.
That can be difficult. And when you talk about, this is a states' rights thing, I've seen it where there's talk about punishing, potential pregnant people who get an abortion, punishing them if they do go out of state. Yeah, and I'm sorry, but that has massive echoes. That has massive echoes of the the late 1800s, where southern states wanted to get their, for lack of a better term, property back. Yeah. And so they were willing to go into other states, go into other areas, and the other states and areas are like, no, you can't come in here. And I hate to say that, that means we're up to a civil war, because that gets into hyperbolic territory very quickly. But there are such echoes.
The Fugitive Slave Act. Yeah. It's what they're talking about right now. I think I heard about it in the state of Missouri, where they'd like to create a law that would be convicting someone of conspiracy to commit abortion. So in other words, if you're in Missouri and you go to a state like California or somewhere where you can get an abortion, you would be tried in the state of Missouri for conspiracy to commit abortion if they have evidence that would suggest that you are making these plans to do that. So they could even when some of the states can still do it, there's talks about trying to criminalize and punish people for making these acts. So it's really not great, Red. It's really not great. And I wish I could say everything's going to be okay and we're going to figure this out. There's no real solutions right now that I can think of. People smarter than me maybe can figure something out. People more familiar with the legal system, but for right now, it seems pretty bleak. And I'm sorry, but there's nothing I can do. What can I do? I'm just a guy who talks in front of a microphone.
It's all mostly just talk right now, and talking does help. It's not going to change anything for now, but it does help people like me and maybe people in other positions, other women, to talk about this stuff because it's important. Because if we just sit around and not talk about it, who is going to talk about it? And if we're not talking about it, then nobody's going to get anything done about it.
And I would say that we're talking about it. There's definitely plenty of secular, avenues out there. I mean, obviously we got our fan run stuff, but there's also, recovering from religion. They've got their operators standing by if you need, further help. There's the Secular Therapy Project. So there are avenues out there, even if it is just to talk.
Red, I hope if I can do anything for you today and other people who are listening or watching to this is that I can be the angry voice that's voicing all the thoughts in your head right now and putting them into words for you. Because some people, that's a kind of therapy for some people. and I hope I can at least do that, But anyway, thanks so much.
Red's doing a pretty good job on her own.
So I'm appreciative of it.
I thank you, Red, and thanks again for your call, and thank you for expressing your concerns as well. What can I say, Jason? What the fuck can I say? It sucks. It sucks.
It does. And we are looking at a terrible snapshot in history, and hopefully we can get through this. The American people are nothing if optimistic. And I gotta think that, okay, we are in a very bad place. We've been in bad places before, and we've overcome. Whether it's a grassroots level saying, no, we're going to ferry people over to states where they can get an abortion, whether it's, we will overcome this. I have to believe that. And it's one of those things like, oh, are you taking that on faith? A little bit, unfortunately.
Yeah. I want to believe
that
go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. It's just, yes, it's a little bit of a leap of faith, but we have gotten through some of the darkest times in American history. And hopefully this is just one of those pages that becomes a footnote and we move on to better things. That's what I got to hope for.
Martin Luther King Jr. has a quote that I actually don't like. This wasn't from him. He popularized it from another writer. But it's something like the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. And I think his phrasing in that is that, yes, there's trials and tribulations, but eventually human beings overcome. When I hear that, I don't think that's true all the time, because empires have risen and fallen. People have died for no good reason. And, civilizations have crumbled and life has changed, but life does go on. People do move on. And I can at least say that much, right? I can't promise you that everything is going to be fixed in a year or 5 years or 10 years or even in our lifetimes. But we do have to hold on to something to make sure that we can just live our days. All I can say is, as far as legal avenues, it's very disheartening. Very disheartening.